Hello, my name is Eilish. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to build a relevant partnership for an Interreg Europe project. I'm going to cover two topics. The first, how to identify the common challenge that will be addressed through your project. And the second is how to identify the policy instruments and the improvements that will be made to those instruments thanks to your project. So looking first at the common challenge addressed by your project. You need to identify the overall regional development issue which will be examined by all of the partners. For instance, this might be supporting innovation delivery policies in the Industry 4.0. Maybe you want to look at supporting small and medium enterprises in the tourist sector. Perhaps the common challenge will be developing soft mobility in your region. Or maybe selective waste management is the topic that will be addressed by your project. Whatever it may be, it is important that this issue can be described in each of the regions involved in the partnership. And this is called the territorial context. It is important to be as specific and focused as possible when developing your application form. And this is very true for the issue addressed. If you provide a description that is too vague, it is difficult for us to see how the partners can learn from each other. For instance, imagine that the objective of your project is to improve natural and cultural heritage management. It's not so clear for us what kind of heritage is in question, and we have no understanding of the environment that is affected. However, if we take another example, which is looking at the preservation of military or medieval heritage in mountainous regions, it is very clear for us what kind of heritage is concerned, and we can imagine very well the mountain regions where this challenge is based. So be specific when identifying your common challenge. Looking into the application form, in section C, you will need to describe this common challenge in the field Issue Addressed. Make sure that the information you provide is coherent with the specific objective that you will select in section A. It's also important that it matches the policy instruments in section D. So we will be looking for coherence between all of these sections. You will have to explain why this issue is important for European regions in another field. Please provide data and statistics to support your description. Finally, you will need to describe how this project contributes to the cohesion policy or other European strategies or plans. So all of these fields will allow us to have a clear picture of the issue addressed. Next, if we move to section D in the application form, you will have to describe how this issue is reflected in each of the partner regions. This is the territorial context. So you will have to describe what is the state of play of this issue in the territory covered by this policy instrument. What is the challenge that needs to be overcome? This is an important section as it allows us to understand the motivation of the partner in joining this Interreg Europe project. So again, please be specific, concrete, and provide facts and figures to justify your description. Next, let's look at how to solve the common challenge that you've identified in an Interreg Europe project. For this, we will have to talk about policy instruments. So what is a policy instrument, you might ask? If you look into the program manual, you will see the definition. In short, a policy instrument is a means of public intervention. It refers to any strategy, program or law developed by the public authorities and implemented in the region to tackle a specific issue. In many cases, there are financial resources allocated to the policy instrument, but this is not always the case. So you will need to identify the policy instrument that will be addressed by each of the partners. A policy instrument may be an investment for jobs and growth program. By this we mean the European Regional Development Fund or the European Social Fund programs, or it may also be any other local, regional or national strategy that deals with this issue in the region. It's important to note that every project must have at least one investment for jobs and growth program selected. This is indeed an eligibility criterion. And what is unique about Interreg Europe projects is that every project focuses on improving the policy instruments of the participating regions through exchange of experience. So these policy instruments are really at the heart of your project and the application form. Looking into section D, you will have to describe each of the policy instruments addressed. There is a field dedicated to the name of the policy instrument, where you can mention, for instance, the title of the operational program, if that's the policy instrument you will address. You will also have a drop-down field where you need to select yes or no if your policy instrument is investment for jobs and growth. You will also need to identify the geographical scope of the policy instrument, whether it applies over a local, regional or national territory. And importantly, you will have to select how the authority responsible for this policy instrument is involved in the project. That might be directly involved as a partner, or perhaps also involved as an associated policy authority. You will hear more about this in the second part of the video from my colleague. You will also have to describe the main features of the policy instrument. By this we mean the objectives, the characteristics or the measures addressed by your project. Again, be specific here so that we have a clear understanding of why this policy instrument is the right one to address. So once you have described the policy instrument that you will address, we need to understand how this policy instrument will be improved thanks to the project activities. So let's talk about the type of results that can be achieved. There are 3 types of results possible when improving policy instruments. The first is new projects. The policy responsible authority may decide to launch a new call for proposals or to approve a new project that wasn't financed before under this policy instrument. The second type is changing the governance of the policy instrument. The authority may decide, for instance, to introduce new indicators in the monitoring system or to change some of the selection criteria for funding new projects. The third type of improvement is changing the instrument itself. By this we mean changing the content of the policy instrument, the specific thematic issues that are covered. So these are the 3 types of improvement that we would expect to see coming from your Interreg Europe project. Looking into section D of the application form, you will need to describe what kind of policy improvement is envisaged for each policy instrument addressed. There is a drop-down menu for each of those 3 types, and the partner will need to select yes or no if this type of improvement applies. There is also a free text field where this improvement needs to be described in more detail. We've come to the end of this first video about building a relevant partnership. We looked at how to identify the common issue tackled by your project, how this is really core to building your partnership and selecting the right authorities. And we also looked at how to identify the right policy instruments and what kind of improvements should be aimed at. In the next part of the video, my colleague will talk about who should be involved in Interreg Europe projects, the policy responsible authorities, and who else can support the activities, the stakeholders. I invite you to watch this video and to learn more about building a relevant partnership. Thank you.